All right. Hey, everybody. Johnny Omaha here with none other than Grace from Troll Lord Games. Grace, how are you
Hello,
today?
hello. I'm great. How are you?
Oh,
Happy to be
I'm
here.
great now that you're here. This is an
Oh
honor,
man.
privilege. And I got to say, Blood and Briar has been my absolute Let's Play favorite that I've seen in a long time.
Stop. You're gonna kill me.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. Um,
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah,
I'm really glad.
it's
It's been so
great.
much
So
fun.
talk to me about where did this concept come from? Like, did you know these people beforehand, or can you give me a short synopsis of what Blood and Briar is for people that might not know?
For sure. So, Blood and Briar is a Castles and Crusades actual play that we just started this month, December. And the adventure that we're playing through has been in the works for a very long time. It's actually a little bit of a funny story. Can I like tangent a little
I would
bit?
this yes, please.
Okay, I'll keep it brief. But when I first met the folks at Trollord Games, I was looking for work as a writer, and I was working full time, my day job in like retail, and then accompanied Rick Ankney, who runs, oh my God, Thunderforge Studios, and I'm blanking on the name of his tabletop shop in Lansing.
But it's a good one, I bet.
It's an amazing one,
Yeah.
yeah. Rick Ankney, just Google him, it'll come up. But he brought me to GaryCon to introduce me to some people, and the last group that he introduced me to is Troll Lord Games,
Cool.
and we got talking about like adventures and stuff. They let me know that they were looking to start a series of adventures that were based on fairy tales.
Cool.
And this is actually new information that I have not given to the players.
Exclusive here for behind the screen
Ooh.
here. You're hearing it for the first time behind
And
the
if
screen.
if they watch this, and I think now it's safe to like let them in on the secret and let you guys in on the secret. Um, this is kind of is allegory the right word? Maybe not. It's sort of based on Little Red Riding Hood.
Ooh, okay.
So
Loving
certain
it. Loving it.
characters based on like the wolf and Red Riding Hood herself and the grandmother and all sorts of stuff. So they hired me to write that adventure, and I proceeded to not write it for like 2 years.
Hey, we got a great job for you. I'll get right on that. But you've been doing also really
Just give me a
amazing, busy
quick.
work. You do. Hopefully this isn't a big secret, but the
Yeah.
product support at Troller Games, you're a big part of that.
Yeah, I monitor that email. I do our social media
Yeah,
posts. I
huge.
produce YouTube content for us when I have time.
So not for nothing, right? I mean, it's been a busy 2 years.
It's been a very busy 2 years. All of this was before I was hired, but that was its own crazy time. Like, if you've ever worked in retail, you know that it leaves you without a lot of
This is fact.
brain
Guilty.
power to do
Yes.
anything.
Have worked many a retail job.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's kind of the background of the adventure, and
And then how
this
did this particular
group.
group come together, Grace? I know there is
Yeah,
the funny thing is when you first watch this episode, it's NDA, NDA, NDA. So
NDAs,
we don't
NDAs.
want to we don't want to go too deep into the quagmire that might be all wrapped up in there, into the briar, if you will, the thorns in the bush.
Ooh,
I know, thank you.
bringing it full circle.
That's right. But what can you share with us as far as
Yeah,
that won't breach anything?
for sure. So this was Steve's work, meeting these three incredible actresses. Steve was a part of something very exciting for Troll Lord Games that we can't talk about yet.
Yep.
But we have a potentially very, very big project in the works that involved a lot of people and a lot of actors and actresses. And these three were some of those people involved in that project. And Steve met them during that period of time when that was being worked on and thought to himself, hey, we should do an actual play, and volunteered me to do it.
And that's the story. Look at that.
That's the story. And I'm
I
so
love
glad
it.
that he did. I wouldn't
Yep.
have volunteered myself.
Really? Grace,
Yeah,
you've done
because
such a good job. You did Steve's birthday game where that was a really fun, like Coliseum Fortnite
like
kind of
Battle
game.
Royale,
Yeah, that was super cool.
it was so much fun. But,
Yeah,
just like the heebie-jeebies with exploring any new system,
sure.
I'm sure people can relate. Like, I get super intimidated to try running like new systems to me
Yeah.
because I know a lot about like the game and stuff in theory, but there's a lot of stuff that you only learn when actually playing.
That's
And
exactly why I wanted to talk to you, Grace, because
yeah.
where I think so many people, that's why I relate to you. I think so many other people relate to you because of you are walking that road that so many people are either currently on or they still have some trepidation on like, oh, how do I start my first step? So what was your first step? And were you kind of thrust into this or did you, I mean, obviously you have your own agency and your own consent. So where were
Yeah.
you like, yeah, I'm ready to take the first step on this?
Yeah, so Steve was so kind about it and was very proactive in letting me know, like, hey, if this is a hard limit for you, if I volunteered you for something that you're not ready for, like, just say the word, no questions asked. Like, you don't have to do this. Um, I've always been the kind of person who, when in doubt, just say yes.
Yes.
Because that's how life plot happens. And sometimes, like, just, I don't know, it's really a matter of just doing it. Um,
I love it.
I totally
Not
grappled with
trademarked by
like,
Nike at all.
just do it.
Wait, do it. That's
Yeah, I
funny.
mean, I've got super strong like social anxiety, and I've been open about that in the past. So like anything that just gives me an excuse to like stomp on it
Nice.
is something to is an
Critical hit,
opportunity to take.
social anxiety. I love it. I love it.
Exactly.
I'm so glad there's that you're in tune with that and that you are comfortable with making steps to
Yeah.
try to better that aspect.
The I mean, that's the thesis of like why gaming is so important to me. I mean, it's all about breaking down those barriers and just like letting yourself role play and improv and like work creatively with the people around you. And it's really like made friendships possible that I wouldn't have ever had ever in my whole life. So
Well,
yeah,
you couldn't have given me a better segue to talk about Blood and Briar with that.
it's
So
my
yeah,
specialty.
you're just so good at this, Grace.
Speaking of
That's right.
briars
Speaking of Briar,
and
that's right.
woods and going
That's
places.
right. That's right. So we start off here. I'd love to watch a little bit of this with you here
Yeah,
and just
do
get
it.
your feedback and maybe ask you some questions on it. So
Sure.
fantastic start to the stream. So the stream kicks off. So when you do your streaming, you guys started a little early. Talk to me about your thought process on like the whole thought process about the stream starting soon.
Yeah, I think it's a little jarring as a viewer to kind of arrive into a game that's already started. Like the stream starts and we immediately start playing. For the person who
Just
like comes in 10 minutes late, it's
boom.
like they've already missed stuff.
Right.
And also just like we want to catch up with chat. The Troll Lords community and people who show up for us in Twitch and on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and all the other places we stream, they're so funny and so interesting. And it's so much fun to just like sit and chat for a little while and just like set expectations for the stream
Yep.
too. So yeah, really it's just an opportunity for all of us to get to know chat better, for them to, talk with us and get to know us better, and kind of let people filter in as well.
Perfect. So
Because I
for
don't want anyone to
maybe
feel
recommendation
behind.
for people that are looking to do their let's plays, maybe start off with the kind of a pre-roll here, which is this
Yeah.
what we're looking at right now, the stream starting soon. And there's some fun. Oh, and there's the stream starting right here. And look, great energy. It looks like look at all that body energy here. Was now how much prep happened before this game started? Were you guys on a call beforehand or how did that work?
Yeah, so we try to get in about like 30 minutes to 20 minutes before the start of stream, before we go live. And that's just so that we can make sure everyone's microphone is working, everyone's camera is working, and that we all have like our character sheets and rule books up. But
I'm
if
gonna
the whole
bring up
stream doesn't
the
crash, then it's
sorry.
fine.
I'm gonna bring up yeah, as long as the whole stream's not working, where we are a-okay. I'm gonna
Cool.
actually bring up session one here and keep it
Yeah.
on mute because I love like everybody starts with a session one or even a session zero. Did you guys do a session zero?
We did a couple of like just prior meets. I don't know if I would call, I guess a session zero is a really broad term. I think of a session zero
Yeah,
as an
please.
actual gaming session
Okay.
where you establish like how your characters met and what they're
Yeah.
doing, and maybe there's a prior adventure that they complete. Oh my God, we did have a session zero.
Okay.
My
There.
brain
See,
erased
this is
it.
why the questions are here.
I totally forgot all about it, and it was actually two.
You had a zero.
So
How do you have two session zeros? Is that dividing by
we
zero?
broke it because the adventure, we went over our time, so we had to meet
Zero
again
A and
another
zero
week.
B.
Exactly.
All
Yeah.
right.
So that adventure was where it's been referenced lightly a couple of times, like throughout Blood and
Yeah.
Briar, but um, our three private investigators were hired by an opera singer's security detail
Ooh.
because they had received a credible threat to the opera singer's life during one of her upcoming, like, really big, performances
Yeah.
in the capital city of
And you
Louisville.
guys didn't live stream this one, right?
We
We
did
are
not.
hearing this for the first time too right now, right?
Yes. Yeah,
We
yeah.
are getting all the exclusives and
All the
behind the
exclusive
screen.
deets.
This is great, Grace. We're
Well,
sitting here
thank
in
you for
rotation guy.
thanks for your time and for asking all the questions and
Oh,
for
you
just
bet.
caring about this. Because I don't know, like everyone has their own games and their own stuff going on. So like the fact that people are interested in this game and want to know more about it actually like baffles my brain and like breaks everything up here. So I
Well,
really
Grace, the
appreciate
whole
your
point of
time.
behind the screen is we want to talk to all our castle keepers in the Castles and Crusades community and hear about what they got going on. And
Oh,
there's a
hell
lot of great
yeah.
games out there. So we're so excited that you could kick us off with our first one.
Well, man, it's an honor. I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. So session zero. So there was this big
Yeah.
thing that happened. So did your players roll up their characters or were they pre-gens? And how did the character creation process go?
They decided what race and class they wanted to be. I had them roll their stats. I feel like doing the character sheet is the most intimidating part of
Absolutely.
any kind of actual play or
Absolutely.
game.
Well, and the thing I love that you approached on this is it seems like everything is as close to paper as can be, is what it seems like, because there's no VTT or virtual
Yeah,
tabletop for this series. Or am I wrong about that?
that's right. I kind of just didn't want to deal with
Yes.
the VTT this
Relatable.
time.
Relatable.
I figured like it's all gonna be kind of straightforward. No spoilers. Like the environments that they're gonna be in. So
Well, and Grace, can I say
yeah,
you have an incredible talent and gift just with because this isn't your first podcast. You do readings a lot.
yeah,
And
from the
you're
Codex of Aerd.
yes, and I gotta tell you, the way that you weave and can evoke imagination and that theater of the mind, truly second to none.
That really means a lot to me. I worked really hard on that. So, like,
Yeah.
thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah.
My
Oh,
background is
absolutely.
spoken word poetry.
Well, it
So,
shows. It shows. There's a
um,
whole podcast wrapped up in there. We're gonna have to like behind behind the screen for
it's
that.
layers. It's like an onion.
That's right. Layers, donkey. Many layers.
Layers. Like cake,
Graces are like onions. That's
they make you cry.
right. Maybe later. We'll see what happens after session 3. We'll see what
Yeah,
happens there. So fantastic. So there's session 0, really cool. Sounds like a super dramatic opera scene. How did that
yeah.
all they solved the mystery?
They did indeed. So the threat was not to the opera singer's life, they found out too late. There was a witch who had stolen her voice
Oh
and had made
no.
a deal with actually the opera singer's personal assistant to give
Oh.
to so that because the personal assistant had a beautiful voice of her own and she wanted to be a singer.
Oh
So
my.
the idea that this personal assistant and witch made together was that the witch would take the opera singer out of the picture, the personal assistant would graciously step in on stage and do a
Oh,
performance of her own.
I can help.
And yeah, I feel like, well, I can sing
I'm her backup. I'm her understudy.
in this one of like the most packed house, like
Mm.
crazy performances in the capital city of Louisville ever. Um, and then the witch would get like a portion of her profits for all of her shows
Oh
henceforth.
man, there's probably commentary on Hollywood in there somewhere and managers and
Oh yeah.
no, I do see like I don't is it allegory or homage? There's a little bit of sounds like Little Mermaid kind of
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that, but
yeah,
yeah,
you were saying the classic fairy tales, so
maybe that's another
I
one
would
that we
play that
do.
adventure. So that's pretty
It was a
cool.
lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So
They
there's
had a
another one
few
after this
different
one's
like
done.
exactly.
That's right.
They had to like interview some different suspects and the personal assistant was trying to point the finger at other people in the audience. They all had like a motive. So, but they figured out the mystery. They decided to let the personal assistant have her moment on stage and then have
Oh,
security rush her on stage.
we'll have your moment and then snatch it away from you.
Well, it's kind of turned into like a Chicago the musical kind
Okay.
of thing where like have you seen Chicago the musical?
It's been a hot minute.
It's like the general premise of that is like these two women are performers, but they're also like they are
Bibles.
arrested for murder.
Oh, Jiminy.
And so the real bulk of their fame comes from like their trial and the scandal around it instead of like their talent. So it kind of turned into that sort of
Oh,
situation for the
wow.
personal
Well, I
assistant.
think and what a great way, from a castle keeper behind the screen, how the pop culture and movies. I don't think there's anything bad
Oh my
from
God,
letting
yeah.
that stuff influence and kind of work in because it saves so much. I don't know what you call it, negotiation or the idea, the concept, or the communication around. You
Yeah,
could be like, it's just like Chicago, the musical,
exactly.
and they're like,
I
oh, I'm there.
think I
We've aligned
hear,
around it.
yeah, I've heard from a lot of writers, like just every mentor that I've ever had in the writing world, like great writers steal.
Yeah. Hey, hey,
So yeah,
I think that's where it
letting
is.
things inspire you, like
That's right.
that's the name
And
of the
it's
game.
especially when it comes to like this is the thing I think everybody, I don't know if there's a high horse here, but it's like it's not like anybody's getting rich off of playing Castles and Crusades, you know? So like
Yeah.
what what copyright, like who, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Your thing is based on this other thing.
that's right.
You were inspired by something. That means it's not real art.
Right. Wait a second. Oh boy. There's another podcast there.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna
We can
have
get
like
into
10
it.
different podcasts from this one deal. I love it, Grace.
Oh, me
So
too.
let's see here. We're getting so wow. So session zero,
Mhm.
fantastic. And then so
Yeah.
what a difference then for this because it seems like when you came out swinging with Blood and Briar, the initial episode, there was it kind of was more of a traditional like setup. I mean, gotta love the longhouse, which is like you
Yeah, yeah.
tavern kind of thing.
That's a canon place in Aerd. That's from the Darkenfold Codex.
Whoa, look at that. That's coming out. We could
Yeah.
probably little product placement there.
Angus, I think, is also canon. I think that he's listed in the Darkenfold setting book as well, but I don't remember his like surname or anything.
I
But
gotta pull out. I wish I had my books with me. That's what I need. We need to be like,
yeah,
oh, right here, there he is.
I tried to make it as in line with the setting as possible.
I love, well, especially with Aerd. For anyone that's not familiar, Aerd being Troll Lord Games kind of, I would say, biggest universe property, if
Yeah,
you
it's
will.
their baby.
Yeah, and it's
12,000 years of written history
and to me
for
one of the
Aerd.
most unique. Like I think the only thing that comes close would be Dark Sun, but I think
Mm,
Aerd. I like Aerd because Dark Sun is a little too dark for me.
sure.
Aerd is this is really cool balance of where it's at with the bad guy kind of wins and has
Yeah.
reigned over the world for 1,000 years, and then finally we've got something happens in 60 years of his. Is that about right, or how would you describe Aerd?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, like, so a lot of our products are labeled like after the winter dark. Um, and the winter dark refers to a period in which the bad guy won. This terrible god that was a nightmare of the Allfather being kind of like the god of gods in this setting. This god was born of a nightmare of that guy and was summoned to Aerd and looked around and said, well, wait a minute, this doesn't look at all like the Allfather's vision. What he knows of the Allfather's vision being
Oh,
an
because it was a
actual
nightmare.
nightmare.
Yeah.
So he's like, don't worry, I got this. I'll fix it. And so he remolds Aerd in what he thinks is the Allfather's vision and in his own vision, which is a land of eternal winter and darkness and dictatorship and torture and everything horrible that you can imagine. Um, and that period lasted for 1,000 years. He went so far as to tear down like the wall between worlds. Like there was this kind of thick fog that surrounded Aerd that separated the void, like the ethereal kind of weird
Planes.
soup where other
Yeah.
planes live.
Yeah.
He tore that down and created a shroud in the atmosphere of Aerd, so that it was just covered in this like really thick, oppressive fog. You could barely farm anything. It was just a period of great, great hardship for all of the people. It lasted for literally 1,000 years.
Wow.
So you spend 1,000 years in winter. Finally, someone kills Onklar. That was his name. I don't know if I mentioned that. The guy's name is Onklar. a
Was
form
it?
of
Is it
God.
confirmed that somebody killed him, or does he just vanish, or how does that? Where
He
does
was he was defeated.
he was defeated?
Um, yeah, there was a magical blade or mace, a weapon of some kind that was made of Eargild metal, which is a creation of the Allfathers. And it had actually been crafted before the coming of the Winter Dark and before the coming of Unklar by the political puppet of the wizard who summoned him. It's all getting a little tangled. But
In all the best ways.
yeah, this guy who was an emperor, who was kind of in the back pocket of this great sorcerer, on his own went and kind of created this like safety measure to use against the sorcerer if he ever needed to.
Hmm.
And it's infused with like the magic of unmaking, and it's kind of this like ultimate kind of oh god, I'm blanking on the word, but I don't know, it's like this thing that'll
Right.
safety like lever that he can pull if he ever needs to. Um, and it's lost to the ages because that emperor is quickly deposed and the sorcerer meets his own fate, and
Right.
it's lost to time.
So
A
Grace,
hero finds it and then kills Unklar.
oh wow. So here
Yeah.
we've obviously you're steeped in this rich history of Aerd, which goes on. We could see to almost uh galactic soap opera levels of what's going on here. How,
Steve would be
you
so
know,
pleased to hear it be called a galactic soap
galactic
opera.
soap opera fantasy. I mean, of the ages. So here
Yeah.
you are as a first time castle keeper with. I think you're also in a very unique position where you've been doing these readings and you're so steeped in the lore. So how do
Mm.
you approach that without feeling overwhelmed? Like how much of that do you bring in as your first time adventure, and how do you keep your players from their heads exploding?
So I've written kind of a linear adventure in a very small part of the world. Um, and I didn't think too hard about like timeline or where this is happening in relation to the Winter Dark or anything like that. The
How did you
story's
give
not about
yourself
that.
permission to do that? How were you like, hey, I'm not going to worry about that?
It took a little bit of help
Mhm.
from like my boyfriend and from just like talking with the other staff and with Steve, who's, created Aerd. Um, but after kind of playing in this big like worldly sandbox in
Yeah,
5e,
yeah,
I think there was kind of a part of me that just knew I wanted to do it different this time
yeah.
and just try something very, very simple. It's not about like a world-ending crazy threat. It's just about like there was an attack on an estate. And from there, like all these other branching things happen. And there's still so much room for so many different like
I
endings and different stuff that they can do. A small like setting does not mean a small adventure by any
No, not at
means.
all. In fact, it could be even more like, would you say like
Yeah.
the intimacy that happens because of the fact that you get to, especially as a first time castle keeper, like being able to flex NPCs and not having to manage this army, this laundry list of
Yeah.
people, and then keeping these settings. I mean, how did that feel to approach it from this direction?
It was a lot of fun. So like there are a lot of adventures that are set in the Darkenfold forest,
Mm-hmm.
in Aerd. And so when I was looking for a home within Aerd for this adventure, I knew that I wanted it to be the Darkenfold, but the Dogwood had very little written about it. And
Mm.
also like it caught my eye in the first place because like Dogwood, like ooh,
Ah,
Red Riding Hood, there's a wolf in that
oh
story.
my gosh.
So just knowing that there was a little piece of this one larger region that I could kind of flesh out and make my own for this one little thing,
Yeah,
it just made it feel a lot more doable,
yeah. A little
I
more
think.
accessible, a little more
Yeah.
empowering.
I don't have to keep in mind like a million different, like, I don't need to know the political machinations of what's happening
Right,
in this country simultaneously while the adventurers are doing their thing, how that's impacting the political things over here.
right.
It's not about any of that.
Which
It's
is
just
still
about people going
cool.
through the woods.
But as a
Super cool.
first, but as a first time castle keeper like that's a lot to digest and keep in the back and do it
Yeah.
justice, Like, oh,
Yeah.
what's this gonna do to the socio-political economy of the Paladin
Yeah.
kingdom, or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's a
I
nice.
think that was a
Oh.
mistake that I made with my first campaign.
So a lot of people, I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make because they get
Yeah.
so excited in this world and they're just like, I want to do it all. I want to take it on.
They want it all to be important, which,
Yes.
like, of
Yes.
course, you know, absolutely.
So that would be your piece of advice for somebody starting is maybe keep it on the smaller side.
Yeah, just start small, because it's not going to feel small. Like, people are not going to feel like they are in a fenced-in yard with no
Mm-hmm.
room to like explore or do
Right.
anything. Like, the world, the world of your adventure, whether or not that means like the full game world or like this one section of this one forest or this one lake, like the world that you're having your players explore in, you can make that as vibrant and full as you want to. A place that I actually looked to for inspiration was Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, tell me about that.
um, just walking through it, it really feels like alive.
Yeah.
I don't know, like compared to other like video games and
Yep.
stuff.
Yep.
Um, and it's not this huge, sprawling, like you're not traveling all over the world. You're just a guy who wants to like make money and keep the people that he cares about safe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it feels huge,
Mm-hmm.
because the developers of that game took the time to populate it with NPCs who acknowledge you and feel real and have their own motivations and stories. Like, just a lot of love was poured into a little
Mm-hmm.
thing. And so it feels bigger.
Oh, there you go. I think you just nailed it. The
Yeah,
if you want to do a lot of something, do a lot of love. Pour it
exactly.
into the
Yeah,
small container. So if you want to really go big on the love side of things, and then
exactly.
focus it. So I
Right.
want to be cognizant because I did say I wanted to be respectful of your time. We're going to go just a teeny tiny bit over. Is that going to
That's
be
fine. Yeah,
okay?
that's
Cool. Sorry,
totally all
great.
good.
Because the one thing I
Totally
wanted to do
fine.
just as this kind of as our first initial, I want to just listen to just a few, like a little wherever we might be here. We'll kind of
Sure.
unmute, hear where you're at. I'd love to hear a little bit about what's going on through your head. What are you
Yeah.
perceiving? What were you thinking during the time, and then maybe now after what you think now. So let me just I don't even know where
Sure.
we are. So we're gonna like throw a dart at this
Let's
board.
find out.
Let's see. Let's unmute. But the thing I have loved, real quick before I unmute,
Yeah,
if you've been watching the stream, the let's play, the smiles on everyone's faces and the laughter has
it's
been
so much fun.
contagious and nonstop. So
They are so fun. Like, I feel like a lot of, and I know that we wanted to keep this brief. I'm sorry, I won't go on forever,
oh, it's fine. I
but
want to be you can go however. I just want to you go as long as you want.
it's much appreciated.
Yeah.
Um, like, I think a lot of adventuring parties and actual players, and at least like the circles that I've kind of been a part of, you fall into like more serious kind of role play.
Yes. Yeah,
They have
critical
kept it
role.
so fun.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
like Critical Role and yeah, like the more dramatic kind
Yes.
of.
Yeah.
I feel like there's room for drama here, but like these are fun characters.
Well,
It's
and
like a
this
fun campaign.
this is why I love this campaign because it really does evoke the first time, the excitement really of a first time player, a first time cast. Like this you
Yeah.
truly have lightning in a bottle here. Like to this is genuine, this is honest, this is transparent. This is, oh, what do I look up again? At the same time, it's also
Yeah.
this is the coolest thing that's ever happened. Like, oh my gosh, we're imagining this thing and we're working in a shared imagination. And it really does
Yeah.
run the gambit of what a game like this is a realistic portrayal of
For
what I think
sure.
people because you talk about setting expectations. This I feel does a really great because a lot of people look at Critical Role or other podcasts with a ton, with this insane amount of production value.
Yeah.
You're like the Matt Mercer effect where everyone has to do the voices or whatever,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
high bar.
Which is so fun. Like, every time I hear about the Matt Mercer effect, I just think about how there's probably no one who hates the Matt Mercer effect more than Matt Mercer.
Yeah. Oh,
Because
100%.
every great game master has the same advice, which is just like, do it your way.
Yep.
Do it the way that feels right for you and your players. Like, no two games are going to be the same at any table. And so, like, the plot hooks and the things that might have worked or been really, really enticing for my players at one game might not be the same for
Right.
like this table and vice versa. Um, and that's been really fun to like learn and do because this is kind of my first time playing as well with like sort of a new group,
Yeah.
or
Because you
at
didn't
least it's
have a
been the first in a
pre-existing
while.
relationship. with any of these people prior to this,
No,
right?
yeah, we
Which
met
is huge.
for this, which is
Yeah.
so
Wow.
fun to like watch it develop and like watch me sort of be able to like get a better read on them as they're
Yeah.
like acting and doing, and watch them be able to like work better with me, and like I feel like we're getting like comfortable with each other, you know,
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
which is a
true. That's
major
the
thing
thing
with new people.
I think about gaming. Like you had talked about your passion for gaming and why you have the
Yeah.
personal nature for gaming. Like it is a microcosm of truly how we can approach relationships in general. Like it's just a
Yeah.
really cool playground to be like, oh, what if I did this? And you can kind of role play that out. But I think
Yeah.
there's a ton of transferable skills in
Oh
especially
my God. Yeah.
tabletop gaming.
It's so important. I will die on this hill. I think that tabletop gaming is one of like the best things you can do for just like your brain and your emotional health, and like I mean it folds in creative expression, collaboration, um like empathy,
Mhm.
um yeah, just I don't know. If you told me that I had to like sit down with three strangers and talk for 2 hours, I would poop myself. I would have a terrible time. That's not something that I would be able to do without, like, I don't know. It's nice to have an activity, and
Right.
this is a really great activity to have.
Oh, absolutely. I love the word you just used, empathy, because I think that's
Yeah.
if there is one word I would use to describe Blood and Briar, it would be empathy. Not only from
Really?
you, but from all of the, yeah, just because of this is where everyone's sussing everything out. Like where, you
Yeah.
know, it's all about give and take and give. And like the empathy, I think really comes around when it comes to which dice is that again? Like that's the, like
Oh,
there's
yeah.
there's like oh there's like how many I will answer that question in a positive tone every single time because I
Of
don't want you to
course.
feel
Because how often have all of us like been there? You know,
oh
we
yeah
all started like, wait, there's how many dice? Like, what does this
it's
character choose? What do
overwhelming.
these
There's 7
acronyms
different
mean?
types of dice.
Yeah, if you haven't done it before, you know,
Yeah,
you
because
just
if
got to have like infinite patience.
everybody's used to the Monopoly dice, is that the Monopoly dice? Is that the dice I use for Monopoly, the 6-sided
I
dice?
think maybe I've not played Monopoly in a
Yeah.
very
Oh
long
yeah, no,
time.
it's just the 6-sided dice. That's everybody. They roll 2 6-sided dice for Monopoly, and that's whenever I play with anybody, it's like, oh, it's the dice for Monopoly, the
I've
number
heard they
one
use
board game
D6s
of
for
all time.
gambling too.
Oh, that's there you go. For yeah, there's another way to look at it. Awesome. Well, I just want to do this one little thing here, and
Yeah,
then we'll get you on your way here, Grace. So let's see where
sure.
we're at. Throwing the dart in the board again. Smile, smile, smiles, and here we go.
That's a smile.
That would be lovely, Burn.
And he flags down a waitress
Burn.
and asks for three ales, kind of what he's drinking, for the three of you as well. In truth,
Wait,
yeah.
sorry. The drinks just arrived.
He's just ordered them. They're talking to
Okay.
Bernard, who gave him the quest.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And see, I love this too. Like, so it's very different playing. Even this interview is kind of different, right? It'd be way different if we were just sitting at a table talking. Like, there is a technical overlay on top of this as far as like what it means to like the webcam and the microphones and like how do we
Yeah,
take turns in order? Are you done talking? Am I done talking? Like, how are you navigating
exactly.
in this scenario?
So I think it's always a little like stop
Yeah,
start.
yeah.
Like I've kind of always had that. My experience with tabletop RPGs in general is a little bit strange in that I started playing during COVID
Mm,
and have never really, I mean, I've played a couple of in-person games, maybe, but the vast majority of them have been over Zoom, and that just does not go away.
wow, wow, very cool. Well, I did not know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's keep going. So here you are. You're role playing an NPC right now of Bernard,
Yes,
who they've
Bernard.
who they've
They've been
given a
call
nickname to Bernie. So what do you think about that first and foremost?
they've been calling him Bernie, Bernardo. It's so funny. I love it.
So how do you think of the character, the NPC hearing that? So like here's introduced as Bernard, and so how are you hearing? Oh, they're calling me this. How
Yeah.
are you doing anything with that information? Is that like increasing their standing or decreasing their standing with this NPC during this interaction? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Definitely. Yeah. So anyone who saw the first session, people were made very, very uncomfortable by Bernard. People, it was explained like people that come from the dogwood
Hmm.
kind of carry like not the curse itself, but like the stink of the curse.
Yeah.
It just gives people a bad feeling. And Bernard had just come from the dogwood and nobody wanted to be near him at all. And so the fact that these three people sit down with him proactively and immediately give him like an endearing sort of like nickname, he wants them to be comfortable with him, we'll say.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of insights we're looking for here at behind the screen, Grace. I love it. I love it. And I think it's coming off very well. Like, let's see what's going on here. We'll unmute.
Up in it, she'll meow pretty aggressively.
She is really smart, this cat.
She is.
I know. I'm grateful for Beatrice.
Beatrice received extensive training during your time in the private investigation firm.
Yes.
Being able to like sniff out, poisons and things that were slipped into your drinks, stuff like that.
So this is interesting. I found this particular. So this might be like trigger warning, I guess. Just to throw it out here because
Sure.
I loved that this happened in the game because the players had suggested like, hey, make sure nothing gets slipped into your drinks.
Exactly.
And
that's my dog.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, that's so good. See, the dog is smelling for the drinks because what had happened.
Let me go get him.
Okay, sounds good. Good. A well-behaved dog, great dog. And to catch anybody up, so what was happening was one of the players had said, "Hey, don't put anything in your drink," and then the cat that we're describing, this cat having crazy good training to make sure that it's like you've heard of drug sniffing dogs. We'll imagine like a drug sniffing cat. And that's kind of what was going on here with the cat being able to, oh, look at the puppers. Look at the puppers.
He's like, alert, alert, someone breathed outside.
It would work really well in this campaign where, I don't know, were you on wireless, Grace? Could you hear me when I was talking there?
I was, yeah.
Perfect.
So
I was just vamping for time while you were away.
For sure.
Did that? I mean, I describe it right.
Yeah, for sure. Because that's exactly like, I don't know, everyone in real life who's ever been in this position knows that you do not accept a drink, an uncapped like drink from men that you don't know.
Exactly. So here's this kind of real world, current day situation. But then this is the thing I think is interesting is that how much we bring that into our role play scenario where, I mean, is Aerd, I mean, from what you know of Aerd, I mean, is that, I mean, I guess it could be, potions and spells and hexes and curses are absolutely a thing. I mean, is that the kind of thing where would the characters talk to me about player knowledge versus character knowledge, I guess, in this aspect, and how did you reconcile that?
For sure. So, I know that this is like a hot topic.
Yeah, super hot.
On the internet, like safety tools.
Yes. Yeah.
So like people have their own feelings on that kind of thing, and that's fine. I like to use them because I've been in games where, so like specifically for me, I don't like being yelled at in role play.
Yeah.
It makes me super upset. I don't want to be yelled at ever, even just for fun. And I've had it happen like in a game where that's happened and I had a bad time. And it's a game where you're like setting aside a lot of time in your day that you could be spending doing anything else. So I don't want to stumble into something that's going to like upset somebody.
Right.
So all that said, the players have a pretty good idea of like what I will and won't do to them, to their characters. We talked about like their animal companions. I'm not going to kill their animal companions. Like there's going to be danger to the characters themselves. The characters can die. Like they'll have to, play their cards right and try to like survive because there's going to be threats, genuine like threats to their lives. And if the dice will it, maybe their characters don't survive. But we did talk about, just like stuff that would kind of dishearten us and make the experience not really like fun anymore.
Right.
And I think one of those, I would be surprised if I ever found a table where this wasn't the case, but it, like, just that slimy, like being drugged, like,
oh yeah,
just, I don't know. Like there's one thing where like, maybe, I can see it. Like I don't know, context is everything, I
Oh,
guess is kind of what
absolutely.
I'm getting
And
at.
I think the tricky situation here is you never want to minimize someone's lived experience because there's
Exactly.
things, you know what I'm saying? And that's the thing where you could, in this game context, that's a real balance, to
Yeah.
like, oh no, that doesn't happen here in Aerd, like,
Yeah.
which, it's just an interest. I just thought it was really interesting. And that's
Yeah.
the part, again, that's why I love the idea of behind the screen to like really explore these topics, because
Yeah.
as castle keepers, you're going to be thrown these fastballs, and all right, how am I going to handle this? And
Right.
so that's really the genesis. I saw a couple of these beautiful kind of golden nuggets that had happened. So Grace, what do you say to someone that would tell you, oh well, now that they know their pets can't die, they're just going to use them in ways that would break the game without care because they know they're invincible? What would you say to somebody who would say that?
I'd say like break it how. The goal is fun. You can't break the game. And yeah, if they do that,
So what?
are they having fun?
Yeah, there you go. Are they having fun? Perfect.
And
Love
like,
that.
I don't know, it's on me to create like a good mystery. I would classify this adventure as like a mystery. If they if their like animal companions were lesser gods with telepathic speech that could grant them the ability to like see through their eyes and scout ahead and look through stuff. I
Right.
don't know. It's like keep it in perspective. It's still just a bird. It's still just a cat. Like, can they do some like cool stuff? Sure, but like it's on me to
Right.
actually create like credible, threats that like keep the tension
Yep.
going.
Well, and there's
They know that I'm not going to kill their pets.
I think what's really interesting too, and I see this more in Castles and Crusades, there's an entire Mystical Companions source book out, which is
Yeah.
a phenomenal book, by the way.
Yeah, and I think it's being rewritten.
I hope so. Well, I think with everything with OSR right now, I think is we can neither confirm nor deny anything that's going on with that here with behind the screen. But yeah, I think but Mystical Companion is a fantastic book. My son plays a ranger and has a raven, so it's all covered in that book, and it's just fantastic.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Well, why don't we watch
like,
one more little short clip if you're good, Grace?
Yeah, let's do it. That
All right,
sounds
perfect,
great.
perfect. Let's see where we're at and see how we manage
just in
this.
Cats have like unbelievable senses.
Yeah.
The cat version of like a drug dog.
Oh, there it is. See, there you go.
Exactly. Called it.
Drug sniffing cat.
I forgot that I was
That's
also
like the
sick
top
during
of
this.
the resume.
Oh, let's talk about that for a second.
Sure.
What was, because this is the real thing. So what were you kind of not feel? So you weren't feeling 100%.
Yeah, so I had just gotten a crazy cold. And it was actually the most sick that I'd been in quite a while.
Hey. So what was
I
you,
really didn't want to cancel.
Kind of
Sore throat, my voice was gone, just ugliness.
That's tough. Voice being gone, and that's the main way we're playing tabletop.
Yeah. So just like was chugging Dayquil and trying to keep it together.
Were you doing water or tea, or were you doing anything like that?
I was doing water. Actually, these players gave me some pretty good advice saying that tea can actually like dry out your vocal cords depending. So I stayed away from it and just went like pure like lukewarm water, like nothing crazy.
Did that help?
Yeah, just did the best. I think it helped a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
I was on the tail end of it anyway.
Okay. Well, way to power through.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate it.
I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit here, and we'll do one more session before I let you go here.
Sure. I hate that I fled, but it just felt like there was I don't know how to fight, I didn't know what to do. So I just ran and hoped they would meet me here.
and Peter are missing?
I don't know if they're still in the house. I don't know if they've been killed. I hate to think of those cultists laying up pretty in the estate.
I love how you do your NPC. Like instead of he says da 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 da, like you are channeling. This is Bernard at this point, I believe.
Yes, exactly. He's explaining kind of the attack and what happened, and imploring the players to go and figure it out. This was kind of the part of me that So I was watching Critical Role before I
Mhm.
ever played a game. And so that was kind of how I learned to like do it.
Yeah.
Was just like be in the character and use their voice and use their mannerisms. And
How do you feel
that's it.
about that? Like, is that just because that's what you know, or like, does it does it click with you, or like, what would you give advice for someone for a first time castle keeper that wants to run NPCs?
Well, I'd say that there's no wrong way to do it.
Mm,
And I'd say like if it's helpful for you to I don't know if, like if this is even universal for me to like say it this way, but like I guess I'll start over and just say like saying the he said, she said, they said kind of thing. For me, that functions to create a little bit of distance between me and the
yes,
NPC.
yes, very much.
Um, and so that's helpful if I'm gonna do like a quick monologue or something at the players for any reason, which I wouldn't do often, but if I have something that I know that they need to say to them and it needs to be just like what it is. But if I'm just like conversational,
Hmm.
um, I kind of trip over the he says.
Sure,
Um, I don't even really want to describe what he's like doing with his body language. I would rather just like
just do it.
do it, you
And are
know?
you reading a script at this point?
No. I have written down like a bullet point list of stuff that I want him to kind of communicate to
Key
them,
points.
but for the most part, like it was more helpful to kind of just full on lean into the idea that I'm improvising
Hmm.
and just
Are you
talk like a
improvising, or
person.
are you looking at your bullet point list right now?
I think you can see me glancing a couple of times just to make
Yeah,
sure I get it all, but and like recall the events in the correct order and stuff like that.
sure, sure. So you're
Um,
looking you on your computer screen. You've got is it a Word doc or what do you have up?
I've been using Notion.
Okay, okay,
I love Notion. It's
all right,
so good.
perfect.
If you take one thing away from this segment, download Notion. You can use it for free. And you can download like various templates for any kind of like organized document that
Hmm.
you can imagine. So there are people that have uploaded like templates for like an adventure campaign or a world setting or all sorts of things, and you can use that and organize your thoughts that way. It's awesome.
I love
So
it.
that's what I've been using.
That's fantastic. So that you hear it,
Yeah.
behind the screen, Notion, big help with
You
that.
should use Notion. I'm almost on the edge of like
Subscribing.
going for the paid version. Yeah.
Oh man, well maybe Christmas is right around the corner, Grace.
It is. Early gift to myself, maybe. We'll see.
Business expense. Hello.
I mean, write it off on the taxes, you
That's
know?
right. That's right. That's right. All right. Well, let me know if Nick's not going to get it for you. Um, so let's see here. Saint Nick. Saint Nick.
Saint Nick. Yeah,
Let
exactly.
that's right. So here, so you've got Notion up, and you're kind of going over your bullets,
Yeah.
and that's what's kind of feeding this improv that you're doing right now.
Yeah. I think like a lot of people, I struggle with the mindset that I'm not good at improv
Mm.
because that is not a skill that I have ever developed at any point in my life.
Hmm.
I had colleagues when I was more in the world of like performance poetry that would like, you know, freestyle like poems
Oh
and
wow.
just like invent stuff on the fly.
Holy
And I was
cow.
always in awe of that and super intimidated by it.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you find it intimidating because these are three professional actors? Did you find it intimidating to be at the table where I'm sure on their resume and headshots they've got improvisational training?
for
I've seen
sure.
it. I've seen them riff off of each other. They if they don't have officially training, they absolutely have improv experience. Did you
They
feel
quake, yeah.
intimidation at all, or what were your thoughts around that?
You know, I think me 2 or 3 or 4 years ago might have.
Mm.
But I think that like after just experience in like running actual plays and being a part of actual plays and like knowing what's involved, like we all bring something so important to the digital table. Um, and I feel like a way that I've gotten out of a lot of like being intimidated by like people that are more talented than me is just like leaning full on into just admiring them so much and being like, okay, what can I learn from these people?
Mm.
And it's just like that change of mindset, I think, that has made all the difference.
That's
Um,
huge.
it's way more fun to be that way. Let me tell you that.
Well, you can see it right here. You know, I mean, someone who's, if you were feeling anything else but that, I don't
Yeah,
know if you would have been as strong here right now.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank
So,
you.
well, that's you. I appreciate. Look at the mindset for anybody that's looking and being apprehensive about how to approach this. I think, Grace, you're just
Yeah.
dropping knowledge bombs right here. Some truth nuggets.
Well, they were hard fought for sure. Because I
Yeah.
don't know, you go through a lifetime of like struggling with like being jealous of people and
Yep.
feeling like you shouldn't, like you don't have a right to be with certain people on certain projects. Like you don't have a right to like own your space there. You shouldn't be there. You're fooling everybody. Like the
Oh,
whole thing is
imposter
a
syndrome.
fake. Oh, yeah. I mean, I battled with that so heavily, as I think the majority of people
Mhm.
alive have at any point in their lives. Um, the way that helps me to think about it is like that mindset's a choice.
Yeah.
It is a choice, and it's like there's a really great song lyric, a song called Rain Clouds by the Arcadian Wilds, and it goes, is just a fear is only a choice, one that we all must make someday. So like it's okay to acknowledge those feelings initially and let them have space in you and, work it out, but eventually it's time to like step beyond that and
Mhm.
into the next and really just step into the light. It's so much better to like be inspired by the people that you're around and just to like see the great things in them instead of focusing on what's missing from you, you know?
I don't think there's anything better we could end on here for behind the screen, Grace. Like, what an amazing, like, sometimes I have to be like, land the plane. You landed every plane that was in the sky just now.
Boop, boop.
Holy cow. And this is just the first episode. Like, imagine what's in store here for behind the screen. Grace,
An
thank you
incredible
so much
series.
for being here today. We really
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
your time. Thanks so much for like letting me be a part of this. I'm so excited to see future episodes with other castle keepers and everything.
Fabulous.
You're a great host. Thank
Oh,
you so much.
thank you, Grace. All right. Well, that will about do us here, everybody. If there's games that you want to see, make sure to let us know. Drop a like, a comment, all that great stuff for the algorithm. And make sure to check out Troll Lord Games. Check out Blood and Brier. It's on a little bit of a hiatus right now. It's coming back first of the year, coming back really strong
7th.
with extra blood and extra Brier, I think,
So
right?
much blood, so much Briar.
50%
January
more.
7th.
January 7th. Is that right? Is that what you said?
Yes.
All
Yep,
right.
on
January
Tuesday.
7th, 2025, coming in with all the great stuff with Grace.